Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, the channel that brings you your team every single day. A channel run by the fans for you, the fan. And if you need your daily fix of Rangers news, if you want all that daily content, then hit that sub, ring that notification bell. And if you can give the video a like, guys, I would appreciate it. Also, make sure you're around later to join us for our podcast with Adam Thornton of Heart and Hand, as we'll be talking through obviously the new signings and hopes for the new season for Rangers, as well as looking ahead to the friendly games coming up in the next few weeks. Well, again, a day of interesting takes from the club. Number of people, obviously, Jack Butland put in front of the media, bit of that in a minute. Pre-season looks to be progressing very well indeed from all the videos and footage and pictures that have been put out on the Rangers Twitter account. Also, going to have a little look at Rangers spending over the last couple of years. And talk a little bit obviously around about Tom Lawrence and his return to the first team, or hopeful return to the first team. Let's start off by talking about this man here, Jack Butland. Well, Jack has been talking about the fact that joining Rangers was for him a no-brainer. He said it was easy to snub the offer from Manchester United. He said although Manchester United was a child, as a child he supported Manchester United and followed the club. Loved the opportunity to go there. Obviously didn't get any first team opportunities. He said so when Rangers came calling, it was a no-brainer for him, really. He talked about the fact that as a club, Rangers are always there, wanting to win, looking for success, wanting to be successful season in, season out. And as a player, that's what you want. As a player, that's what you're looking for. So, he talked obviously very much about that being a huge selling factor for him when it came to joining the club. And one of the things that came across constantly in the interview that he gave was the drive that he has to win, the drive that he has to be successful, the drive that he has to actually to be the best. And that's the kind of players we need at the club. I think for the last couple of seasons, perhaps we've got stuck into a little bit of a rut, haven't we, in terms of some of the players and kind of, I don't know, accepting second place, accepting second best, and that's just not good enough for a club like Rangers, as we know. And Jack Butland certainly seems to be the man who is driven to be successful and driven to do the best he can. He talked also about wanting to emulate some of the past greats of Rangers, like Andy Gorham and Alan McGregor, two of the finest goalkeepers ever to play for Glasgow Rangers. And we have been so lucky over the years, haven't we, in terms of the goalkeepers we've had at the club. Like Chris Woods, Andy Gorham, Alan McGregor, Stefan Klos, going back to the 70s, Pete McCloy. The list goes on, and there's a number I know I've missed up. I don't want to. If I was listing Rangers goalkeepers, great Rangers goalkeepers, I could be here for a long time. But Butland certainly seems to be the package, doesn't he? He's got the height, he's got shot stopper. And I think part of it for Butland is going to be getting his confidence back. And it does seem from the way he was talking and how he's been performing in the footage that we've seen from training, he's a young man that seems to be very much committed and looking very positive for the future. And after all, as a team, if you're going to have a successful team, if you're going to have a championship winning team, you need a good goalkeeper. You need a successful goalkeeper. Now, nothing against Alan for the last few years. I think he's gone on a bit of a downward trend, hasn't he? Not coming for crosses anymore. And I think that inability to do that has kind of cost the club. The defence having, if you saw at the end of the season, Robbie McCrory back there, someone who would come for crosses, someone who would be more mobile back there, definitely gave the defence more confidence, and I think that will only continue under Jack Butland. But certainly looking forward to seeing Jack in a Rangers shirt for the first time, hopefully one of those pre-season friendlies before obviously the competitive return to action against Killy in August, which hopefully is going to be the start of a great season for Rangers. There was certainly some interesting photographs yesterday from training here. Abdallah Sima and Dujon Sterling having a bit of fun. Obviously in the rain there with Sterling with his hood up. Is that a sign of a partnership to come? Down the right-hand side, Sima and Sterling, with the talk of possible interest from Saudi Arabia, the video that I dropped last night in James Tavernier. That's rumours going around that Saudi club Al Ettifaq, I can't pronounce their name. The club that Steven Gerrard has just joined as manager. Steven is obviously an admirer of James Tavernier. Could he be wanting to take the Rangers skipper across to Saudi? And is that something we should consider? A bid that we should consider selling our captain if the right money comes in? I mean, personally speaking, I think if a bid in excess of I mean, let's face it, the Saudis have all the money in the world and they seem to be spending ridiculous sums of money at this present moment in time. So, if a bid of, say, let's say, 10 million came in, I would seriously consider selling him. I mean, let's face it, we've got Sterling, we've got Devine, there are two right backs at the club, and, Devine is a player I think can do a decent job for Rangers. Add to that, obviously, as well, the new signing Dujon Sterling, who I think has come here to play, and I think that certainly seems to be the intention with Dujon to play him. I mean, whether that's right back, left back, who knows? But certainly seems to be the intention. But it's good to see him and Abdallah Sima having some fun, perhaps building up a bit of camaraderie, a bit of a relationship there between the two of them heading forward for the new season. But definitely a fantastic one to see, a great one to see. I was asked a question yesterday in my comments for the video. And one thing I always like to do is respond to your comments, your questions. And if you ask a question, I like to go and try and find out that information for you and find out what it is you want to know. This is a channel that is for you, the fans, and this is one of the things that we pride ourselves on. I was asked about expenditure by Rangers over the last couple of seasons. And this is something I found out. This is from Transfer Market, which is one of the top sites for football data, for football intelligence, and this is it. So obviously the 23-24 season window is ongoing, and obviously that season won't be concluded until obviously the conclusion of the season next May. But in terms of the 3 seasons previous to that, it's in some interesting reading in terms of money that Rangers have spent and money that Rangers have received players. Now the 2020-2021 season, Rangers spent 11.7 million and received £1 million back in transfer fees. So a net loss of 10.7 million on that. Now, obviously, we understand that, COVID times were in 2020, and we had a situation where we obviously had to get money back. For that COVID situation, clubs weren't making money. No one was really making money in the entertainment industry over that pandemic period. So that may explain the next year's figures. But in 21-22, Rangers spent 3.68 million and received 14.88 million in fees back. So again, a profit on that transfer window, a profit on the window. In 22-23, which obviously last season, Rangers spent 17.41 million. Top expenditures amongst those, obviously, Antonio Cholak, Ridvan Yilmaz, and received 32.32 million in return. The majority of that obviously coming through Calvin Bassey's transfer to Ajax, but again a profit on the last window. So it looks, the last 2 windows, the club have made a profit rather than obviously breaking even. Money has not been clearly spent on players. Now, I know that partly can be put down to the fact, like I said, post-pandemic, you've got to get your money back in. No one was making money during the pandemic, and we don't want to be in a situation as we were previously where we're in financial difficulty or we're making a loss. So I can understand that, and it is understandable that thing. But one thing that that little snapshot shows a little picture of for me is the inability since 55 to take advantage of that, to kick on, to go out and sign players, and if you actually delve into it a little bit more and look at the players who went out and the players who came in, it's not an equal in terms of the fact the quality that went out and the quality that came in. For me, there's not a balancing up there. Since 55, there's been a real inability to kick on, to take advantage of the situation we were in after 55. The fact that we had obviously our foot on their throats and we've let them up. I know obviously Gerrard left and Gio came in, so a change of manager in there. But you look at, like I said, you delve into that a little bit deeper and you look at it in terms of the players in, players out. You look at the quality of the players in, players out. And there hasn't really been a balancing there for me. Hasn't been as well a big enough changeover in squad in terms of the fact that squads have to evolve. Gone are the days where you keep a squad for 5 to 10 years. Players move on every 2 to 3 years these days. That's the nature of football. The days of a one club man, I think, are gone now in the modern game. So that's one of the things that this tells a story of, not just the fact that we made a profit, last 2 transfer windows, and the club have made a profit out of it. It's more looking at the quality of the players and the types of players. And, had we taken advantage of 55, had we used those next 2 windows to kind of build a little bit more, change the squad over a little bit more, I don't think you'd be needing to see the huge changeover in players and personnel and and so on that's come this transfer window. You'd have need perhaps 2 or 3 marquee signings, and we'd have been at a different point in terms of our progression and our journey to become obviously Scotland's #1 again and to be a force in Europe again. And I think it's certainly going to be something that's going to be interesting for the new season to watch, is where we're up to, in terms of style, in terms of tactics, in terms of talent of the team, in terms of winningness of the team, if winningness is a word. But definitely an interesting one to look into. Okay, final thing this morning, obviously, is Tom Lawrence. Tom Lawrence is back and training. And I think Tom Lawrence, if we can keep him fit, is going to be an interesting and fundamental part of this squad, isn't he? He's going to be someone who has an important role to play for the club. You can play on the left side, for example, and that's something we need. We haven't got wide players at the moment. We haven't, apart from Seema, we haven't really signed people who can play wide. So for me, Tom Lawrence could be that man, and it's great to see him back in the squad. Okay, guys, bit of a shorter video this morning, a bit rushed after, obviously, before work. Let me know what you think of the stories this morning. Any comments, any thoughts, any questions or things you'd like me to look at, let me know. Remember, I need you to do 2 things. Always need you to do 2 things for me. Number 1, smash that like, and remember, always, we are the people.